Hi, I'm Janisa Norris, and this is Define Design. Sometimes I miss the days where you could apply for a role directly, and not in the sense that we do today. Back then, you were able to contact the office to check on the status of your application, or you could make an impression good enough to get your resume to the top of the stack. But times have changed. Everything's digital, and human interaction is becoming a thing of the past. Websites are created every day, claiming to have job boards or networking opportunities, yet it's so easy to feel overwhelmed or invisible. Then there's building a social media presence for your profession. These days it seems mandatory. Companies request your LinkedIn profile while applying for roles, and some may even use your LinkedIn profile as the application for the role. The reality is everyone has different goals. When it comes to social media, for example, some may want connections for those roles that they desire, and others may want popularity and notoriety. There also may be a few that desire community engagement. So I'm curious about ways to navigate those waters. To discover more on this, I've reached out to a colleague of mine, Sarah Mondestin. Sarah is many things: UX content designer and UX research advisor at UX of EdTech and the co-host of UX of EdTech podcast. As the founder of Writer's Grit, a company that provides writing services to professionals, businesses, and school districts who need content support, she's helping communities grow by placing users at the heart of every content decision. Before her pivot into UX, Sarah was a K through 12 educator, ranging from teaching to the principal of elementary students. And she was also a college professor. When she isn't at the intersection of product design and user experience, she can be found baking vegan desserts, writing music, and walking with her husband and their 9-year-old at their favorite lake in Dallas, Texas. Listen in as we discuss the challenges of navigating career transitions in a digital world. We'll focus on the importance of social media and networking, navigate how to design a personal social media experience that works for your individual needs, tips on managing burnout, and the significance of being authentic and building those connections on platforms such as LinkedIn. Let's tune in. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Sarah, and we're having a great discussion on designing your social media connections during this time where some people are experiencing layoffs or maybe even wanting to shift their job, their career, and go into other areas. Let's just get into how do we grow that for ourselves, especially in such a vast technical world. It's easy to get online, but it's not easy to discover where you may want to go or find your professional tribe, so to speak. So, hey, Sarah, how are you
I
today?
am doing well, Janisa. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. I think we're going to have a good time.
I have no doubt about it. So let's just jump right in with designing your social media connections. I can just use myself for it as an example with navigating. I like to call it my free agency, but being laid off, it's like, okay, you do have to network, you have to discover new people. So where would you start? Would you start with like reframing your success or just seeing what does this success look like for me at this point in my life, in my career, and how would you go about that in a social media aspect?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. And first of all, thank you for having me. And it just came to me. I'm thinking before I even answer anything, I've listened to podcasts, read articles when I'm in the midst of a layoff. And part of me is like, what do they know? Like, I'm going through this really deep moment. Like, these people probably are privileged, nor do I have all the opportunities lined up. I myself went through and am going through 7, maybe 8 months now of layoff from full-time work. I want, the audience to know that that's a reality. That's something that I'm experiencing. So if you see me smiling and laughing, it's okay. Like it doesn't mean that there, I have a trust fund anywhere. It means that the struggle is real. And I've been blessed to be able to take on some contract work here and there, but it's been a journey. So if you're in the thick of it, I'm right there with you. I completely understand. And when I think of the topic of designing LinkedIn connections, I've been on LinkedIn for quite a while and have seen a lot of ebbs and flows with the platform. And the one thing that I'm realizing after many years on this platform is that I need to make it work for me. And I need to make sure that I design not just the connections, but the experience for myself. And it took a while to get there, but I'm realizing, the more that I use it for different things, that it needs to work for me. It needs to be a platform that I actually gain something from. And I'm the person that designs that. I cannot wait for LinkedIn to design that for me, because LinkedIn will tell you what you need if you don't know. It'll tell you who you need to connect with, how many times you should be there. The algorithm gods will try and tell you what you're supposed to do. So it will give you an agenda if you show up with nothing, which I've done before. I just kind of show up to this blank slate and say, well, what should I do? And LinkedIn will tell me, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to connect with. This is a job you need to apply for. Even if you're happily employed, LinkedIn will be like, no, you're not. Here's more. And so I think walking into this platform with a blank slate can be slightly dangerous. But when you come in with an agenda and you say, okay, how can I make this work for me? And then in the midst of that, help other people on their journey too, I think that reframes the whole experience. You know what I mean?
I really love that, with just taking that time to think like, how can I make this work for me? I think that's very important. And thank you for your transparency with just sharing that you're also one of those just looking for that next gig or role, and just seeing all the different ebbs and flows that we have within this industry at this time. It has been super creative. That's the best word that I can use at this time. It's just been like, oh, really? Huh? Okay. And for myself, even with experiencing a layoff, and I'm on month 12 at this time, and it hasn't been as fruitful for me with just great getting contracts and things like that, unfortunately, but I have been able to navigate, I would say, I guess, different areas that I need to navigate. I don't really know how to positively say that at the time. But what I will say is being able to connect with people has been great. Being able to avoid that comparison.
Yes.
For the most part. And that was, I would say, that was the beginning for me. Like, okay, I understand that my time here is over, but I need to separate myself. So I know one of the big changes for me was going on LinkedIn and adding as many people as I could that did not work at the company that I worked at, so that I wasn't seeing all the updates of a place that I was no longer a part of, allowing myself to grow separately. And it's not to say like, oh, I don't want to talk to any of my former coworkers. I'd love to talk to them, but the reality is that they have to live their lives too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to trauma bond, so to speak, or get in a situation where someone has to express more empathy for me and my dynamic when it's just a business move after all, right? So taking that time to avoid comparison, and also discovering, okay, so who is Janisa? Yeah, she's a content designer, but what does that mean? Like, what's your angle? Like, even actors and actresses have to have something that makes them stand out. So many people act, so many people do it. So what makes you significant? What makes you special? And I know with the need to work, it feels like, oh, why am I going to take the time out to actually think about what I want? What I want is a check. That's what I want.
I want that.
Yes, like what I want is to not stress over these bills. That's what I want. And like I get that, but at the same time, everyone, at least by the time you're 35, you will have had at least one job that you have hated.
Yeah.
Never forget that job. Never forget how that job made you feel. Never forget the frustrations that you experienced and the stagnancy, because that's what it's like when you just make a decision based off of income alone. And it can bring so many more issues than it can bring solutions. I've had many times, especially in college, where I've picked up a side job just to make extra cash. And it felt like, you know what? I don't even see the money. I don't even see the money. And I'm so tired. Like, oh my goodness, I can't even fully rest because I'm overexerting myself. So just taking that break, discovering who I am, and then knowing that Just because some of my colleagues have landed roles at this point and I have not, does not mean that I'm counted out per
Hmm.
se, or that I don't have anything to offer. So I kind of want to get into that a little bit more and express like the experience of burnout with social
Oof.
media and how it can feel to consistently get on there every day
Hmm.
because you're looking for a job. And unfortunately, it seems as though like LinkedIn is somewhat of a champion in the United States space, at least when it comes to certain
Right.
roles. That's like the one stop shop. Personally, I've never gotten a job off of Indeed or Monster.
Mm-mm.
It just hasn't ever happened for me. But, you know, there are other sites that do exist. But as far as being able to connect with people or discover who the manager is and see if you can have a virtual chat with them or something like that, that would primarily be like in that LinkedIn space.
Hmm.
It gets
It
tiring.
does.
And it gets like, wow, everybody's getting hired. That's so great for them. Nobody wrote me back.
Monday mornings on LinkedIn that you're going to see all the promotions, all of the new hires, all
Yes.
it's all going to come through. And really coming in with a game plan. Like LinkedIn's a weird place. Like you get to see people you work with currently. If you're working, you get to see people who you worked with before. You get to see who you may want to work with, and you're expected to come on there and be different. It's like, do you really want to see my different? That's like Saturday night, Sarah. Like, what do you want here, LinkedIn? Because I can give you, like, this is what I like to do. And so you're trying out and testing out all of these different yous, like here's corporate me, and then here's freelance me, and then here's like me on a Sunday. It's like, what is this place? And so I think, like, when you go in and you have a game plan, and you have to go through the ebbs and flows of LinkedIn to realize this, the crash and burn of like all of that. I went in thinking, okay, I'm gonna crush this algorithm. I came in with like this tech bros mentality of like, I'm gonna crush this, and I'm gonna post every day, and I'm gonna engage with people's comments and pictures and all this, and I'm gonna do all the things that these guys who are getting like all these hits are doing, realizing like I don't look like these people, nor do I have the jobs these people have, nor do I talk like them or act like, but I'm trying to be this thing and trying to come in, and I wanted to help people. I knew that much. So I was trying to give all this advice and like do all these things and like engage and post every day. And I got to a point where one of my posts went viral, which isn't a big, like, it's not as viral as others, but it went viral. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And, I responded to every single comment. I think it was a post about treating your job like a contract gig, even if it's full, and saying, like, hey, you're full time. That's cool. You just signed a contract, though. This is a contract. So this is not your family. Don't go in like all, emotional, and don't leave emotional. Like just go in, have a great presence, do what you need to do, and then move on. And it resonated with people in a way where, everyone's in the thick of it right now. So they were like, yeah, I feel this. And other people were like, never in a million years would I do that. It just created all these different emotions. But after that post, I burned out LinkedIn wise. It was so funny because I got to this peak of like, yeah, I did the thing, and I beat the algorithm, and it felt like the end of like a Super Mario game where you're like, okay, I beat the monster. Now what? Do I play it again? And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I didn't come in with a goal. My goal was just to do something and be, make something and make an impact with that moment. And I thought, what am I doing? Like, am I freelancing? Am I looking for work? Am I trying to connect with people? So when you really back up and decide, okay, outside of even content design, like we're humans, we have dreams, we have goals, we have families, we have aspirations. We have to remember that. We have to come into every project, every experience, realizing that we have a mission and we have those goals. And that's a game changer. Once you kind of leave LinkedIn after that burnout, you come back and you realize, okay, each person on here has their set of goals of what they want to get out of this platform. What am I trying to get out of this platform? Or what am I trying to give to this platform? I don't work for LinkedIn. They're not paying me for my posts. So how often do I want to post, and why? Why am I here? And I think that's a tough question that people have to answer. And once you figure that out, then you start creating the space for yourself, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's Slack or wherever you are, where you're like, this is what I'm trying to gain, and this is what I'm trying to give, and it becomes a lot more relaxing and less stressful, Well, coming in and out of a space like LinkedIn for me has become much more healthy after a much needed break from the space. And then I'm able to celebrate with my former colleagues who are excited because, they got this gig because this is what they were looking to do on LinkedIn and it worked,
Yeah.
and I'm able to connect with people from other places and kind of grow from people's experience and write, we love, that's why we're here. So LinkedIn should be for us. We love to write and kind of express myself in different ways and then be able to take a break without feeling punished by LinkedIn. Everyone, LinkedIn's going to punish you if you don't post every day. It's that, what are you going to do with your engagement? I'm like, I'm not here for engagement. If I were, then yes, I'd be doing this every day, but that's not why I'm here. And really understanding that has been liberating when it comes to this platform and what I want to make it.
That's awesome. I'm curious, have you found that it's been easier to have viable connections on Slack versus LinkedIn or a Facebook message group or an email chain or anything like that? Has there been a space that has worked a bit better for you, or does each one have its own talent? For example, like with LinkedIn, that would kind of give you more of a broader audience base with whatever you're posting, but Slack may give you a more intimate feel with a team or something like that, or just having messages back and forth. So I'm just curious to your experience with building your network in this virtual space, how these platforms have come to you and what they give to you.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction too. LinkedIn for me is really good for like cataloging people. It's like a big old address book for me right now of like people I've connected with in the past, those connections you had from different jobs, connections you want to have, people that you think are funny, like, folks that you relate to on different levels based on their posts, based on your posts, based on comments you've had. And so I utilize LinkedIn DM, the direct messaging feature, the messaging feature on LinkedIn far more now than the posting. Comments are actually really cool too, but I utilize the DM on LinkedIn to be like, hey, I think I know someone at that company, let me check in, and you find out, oh yeah, I used to work with so and so, and you get to connect with them and see how they're doing. And the great thing about it for me is I get to scroll up and see all of our conversation from like 5 years ago, and I go, oh my goodness, you had a baby. Like, how's your baby? And they're like, my baby's 5. I just had another one, and you get to see all of this conversation. And to me, that's like a catapult into something else of like, hey, you're at such and such company. How's it going? And you get to connect with people. Slack for me has become a little more intimate, professional intimacy, where you get to kind of dig in a little bit deeper to some individuals that you may admire or folks that work at places that you admire and ask them how they do things. And I'm not necessarily looking for a job on my Slack groups, but I'm looking to connect with people and find out what are their systems that they're dealing with, what are the problems they're dealing with, and how are they solving them. And I have always found that the content design community is so forthcoming with information. There's not a lot of gatekeeping. There's not a lot of like competitive feeling within that space. So they're very open about sharing, like, oh, this is what I'm dealing with. Here's a doc that helped me, or here's something I created that might help you, or here's some pay transparency survey that we're all taking, and here are the results. Like, everyone's really helpful in that way. So I've used Slack in that way a bit. Facebook, if I want to sell a couch, I go to Facebook. but but other than that, I don't use it. Like, I don't know. I haven't used it in a while. But LinkedIn's been really good for those in like one-on-one connections. And then I may move it to like a coffee chat if it becomes that. I do get requests for coffee chats from people. I used to get a lot more when I was working at BrainPop. A lot of people would come in and, I need a coffee chat one-on-one, 30 minutes. And I was feeling so generous, and I would give my time and give my time and give my time. And it became too much. So I just tell people, hey, I can't do a coffee chat, but send me some questions you may have here in the DM and I'll answer it when I can. So that's what's become helpful too, where I can kind of go back and connect with people and just answer specific questions there and just kind of move on from there.
Yeah, I totally feel you with the getting overwhelmed with the coffee chats, because it working at a major company kind of makes you a celebrity on LinkedIn a
Yeah.
little bit, and it's kind of weird. On one end, I get it because there was a time that I didn't work there and I was applying, but you know what? I actually didn't reach out to any of the employees. I just kind of leaned on my own
Mm-hmm.
connections in that sense. But what if a person didn't have any connections, you know? And then you see this person pop up in people you should connect with, people you may know, however it's worded. I can't think of it right now. And you're like, oh, wow, I want to be a UX writer. They're a UX writer. They work at this cool company. Let me send them a message. And knowing how hard it was for me to get to the point that I was at, I didn't feel comfortable telling people no
Mm-hmm.
because so many people had told me no. And that's what made it so difficult for me to discover my next step. And it's just information. It's not like they're giving me $20. Like, I just, you know
Like,
what I
I just have
mean?
a
So,
question. Yeah.
right. It just like got to a point of who am I to get to this stage now and see people that
Mm-hmm.
were right where I just was and tell them no. Nah,
I know.
like, what do you need? But I had to discover how to do that so that I would not burn out. And so it ended up being very similar to what you were saying, where I don't mind having the back and forth. I would just say like an async chat through messages. We're discussing things. But if you have like a whole lot of questions, then we can schedule some
Yeah.
time. But for the most part, we can just kind of go back and forth through these messages. And it's not to be less present. It's just I have all these other things that I have to do too, and I need to be just as present in those
Mm-hmm.
moments. And it's a lot of things that are just like a greater scope, of
And you
stuff.
know what I'm realizing too after the, because this is my, like, I went through, this separation, the company, and I realized the people who were asking me for coffee chats way back when I was super busy and I got the job and I had moved from education into ed tech. And now I had a bunch of educators who were moving into ed tech or wanted to move into ed tech that wanted to meet with me. And I thought, well, they want to know my knowledge. I must, share with them all my secrets. They didn't want to know all that. They wanted a referral. I had no
Hmm.
idea until someone literally was just like, I need a referral. That's why I'm meeting with you. And it wasn't until after a layoff, and then I was finding myself reaching out to people because how do you ask for a referral? If you don't know somebody, but you're kind of sort of friends on LinkedIn full time, and some of them got it. Like they're like, we don't even need to meet. Here's the code. And I thought, thank you. But it made me realize they probably went through this at one point too, where you're humbling yourself, sending out message after message, thinking, how much time do I put in before I ask for referral? It's kind of like going to someone's house and you're like, how long should I wait before asking for the Wi-Fi code? like the 5 minutes or like an hour? Like it's very intimate information. But some people are like, don't even, you don't have to fake the funk. Like we don't even have to meet. Let's not waste any time. Here's your referral. Go for it. And I thought, I'm going to do that because I didn't do that enough back in the day because I didn't know. But now I get it.
Yeah, I totally feel you with the referral thing. I had to learn how to navigate that too. Just saying like, I haven't talked to this girl in like 2 years. And I'm just supposed to say, hey, can you give me a
Yeah.
referral? Well, yeah, actually you are. And it's not like you have to prove yourself to them. They're either going to give it to you or
Yeah.
they're not.
That's it.
And if it's meant to be, you'll have the role
Mm-hmm.
regardless. So, to the audience, if you're like, oh, I would love to get a referral, but I'm not sure, da 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 da, just reach
Just
out.
reach out.
Just reach out and say something along the lines of, hey, my name is blah, 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 and I'm interested in this role at said company. I see that you also work at said company. I was wondering if you'd be open to send a referral and or have a virtual
Yeah.
chat. That
That's
way
it.
you'll even know if the person is open to establishing a relationship with you. Sometimes they'll just, like you said,
Give you the
here's the
referral.
code and you move on with your life. So don't, overthink it. Just you always have to shoot a shot.
That's it.
If you don't shoot it, you're going to
And
miss
I
it.
had people tell me
So,
no. And be like, "No, I already referred my friend for this." And I'm like, "Okay, that's legit. Like I can get down with that." And other folks are like, "Sure. Like you're not going to go to jail if you refer someone who is not going to be great. They're not going to hire 99% of the people. So if you refer someone that's terrible, they're not going to be mad at you. Some HR manager is going to look at it and be like, "Okay," and move on. So just refer the
exactly.
people. Just do it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And there's like no connection to your own
No.
reputation. It's a corporation. You're just sending in, like,
Yeah,
it's totally
it's
fine.
fine.
Another thing I want to touch on is making these connections stick.
Mhm.
There are places where, yes, you can just have that quick one off conversation. You get the referral code, or they'll tell you, you know what, I think that you should really talk to Jennifer Davis. She's really great with that. I'll connect you with
Mhm.
her. sometimes that's the conversation, and you just keep going down this lane of, I'm meeting all of these amazing people and I don't really know where we're going to land, but we're going, we're moving. But how do you make those connections stick? Especially, for example, when I was getting into UX writing, as I mentioned, I was one of the people on LinkedIn, like, hey, my name is such and such. I just graduated. Da, 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 da. Trying to discover, like, just, can someone help me? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing something because there's a bit of a gap from education to that first job where it's like, okay, the way that career services tells you to do your resume, I'm sorry, but
It's
it's
not,
not
it's
never
not,
it. It's
not it.
never it. Never. And you're just like, okay, well, this was unsuccessful. And I was able to find this woman who took the time to look at my materials and have those one-on-ones with me. And I I want to say that I think that I was able to make that connection stick by being okay with being
Hmm.
vulnerable and saying what I don't understand, what I don't need, what I don't get, like what's the most frustrating part or what am I missing? And not being afraid to be wrong. I understood that I was new to this space and like I just got my certifications and all this kind of stuff. Like I know a little bit, but like you've been doing it for like 10 plus years. So looking at my stuff, like how does this come off to you, just asking her questions to discover what are these professionals thinking when they see my stuff, if they're even looking at it, because I don't know. So I'm curious to see, how were you able to make some of your connections stick with just growing your network as a whole?
Hmm. I think that's a really good point. That vulnerability piece is so important. I think that's how connections stick with me when in this vulnerable state of like, hey, I'm wet behind the ears. I need some help. People are always willing to like, oh, they like to be in those positions where they could help someone who's like up and coming and all of this. On the flip side of that, when I was coming from education into ed tech, there was this need, unfortunately, at the time to somewhat prove myself in this industry that didn't necessarily take educators seriously. You know, you're going to tech now and you're a teacher. There's a lot of, assumptions where they may think, okay, we don't have to pay this person as much. They're new, they're not really professional. They are just in a classroom. So you had to do all of this maneuvering to move from like educator. And I was a principal. I had worked for many, many years and down back to the place where I'm like, please teach me everything you know about content design, and do all of that. But I think the relationships that have stuck for me on these platforms have been when I don't even talk about the work or my work.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be really cringy about like the way I would send out my connections. I'd be like, I have a need right now. I need to connect with this person and get that need met. And they were like, whoa, who are you? Like, well, I'm Sarah. I need this job. And it's like, slow down. And so I backed up and said, why not reach out to people when I don't have a need? It's far less cringy. It's more authentic. And I'm just reaching out. I'm just saying, how you doing? I'm a content designer too. What are you up to? And do you need something? No, I'm just like checking in, seeing how and I think whenever I had these genuine conversations with people, like I was writing articles for UX of ed tech, and I would write articles about ed tech and articles about the industry and trends and all of that. And so I would reach out to other content designers and ask if I could interview them for the article. I'm not trying to get a job. I'm just trying to interview you for an article I'm writing. I'm not getting paid to write this article. Like, let's just, and I would reach out to people and form these little relationships. So this, as I'm job searching and all of this, I realized, hey, that's someone who I interviewed for that article that I wrote. We work together. I noticed that there's an open position at your company. What's up? And then we were able to talk and like, hey, there is, and it was very fruitful. And so you're able to see that from the past, the history in your LinkedIn DM. Like, what's my history with this person? Oh, we worked on a project together that had nothing to do with anything. And now I could connect with them on a whole other level. They know who I am as a human a little bit. They know how I work and they trust me a little bit more. It's kind of like when you're shopping for that perfect little black dress, right? Don't shop for it the
Mm-hmm.
day you need it. You're not going to find it, or it's going to be far more expensive. You're going out there rushing, trying to find the perfect shoes, the perfect dress the day of the event. No, no, no. You have to go far before there even is an event. You don't even know about an event. And you say, I found the perfect dress. I found the perfect shoes. The event will come. And that's how I treat these
So
connections
true.
of like, let's do stuff before we need it, because it's really cringy to meet your neighbors whenever your house is on fire. You got to know them beforehand so they could actually help you, not when you are faced with a catastrophe.
Yeah, because that's such an awkward interaction. Hi, we've been next door for about eight
Yeah.
years.
What name?
Didn't have time to stop by.
Thanks
Right?
for the
Like, oh
help.
my goodness. Oh my gosh. I love the outlook that you have on this whole thing of networking and seeing how you're not centering the networking, you're centering yourself, and you're seeing how does this work for me? And also understanding that it's not all about work. A lot of people make their connections doing other things, having hobbies. And you meet random people by just going to different events, and you're just like, oh, wow, that's so cool. You do such and such. And I've even had to start making it an effort when I meet other people to say, oh, wow, are you on LinkedIn? We should
Mm-hmm.
connect. And just to kind of continue those conversations because you never know. Like you were
Never
saying, you just
know.
never know like how you can meet with people or where things would grow. And that's kind of one of the beautiful things of life. I also like that you were mentioning you just buy the dress.
Yeah.
I know I'm one of those. There's a mall not too far from me, and I'll like walk through Macy's. It's my thing. I always catch something on
Yes.
sale, okay? And I'll be like, ooh, is that really $12?
Yeah.
Let me see. You have my size. And then it's like a nice treat yourself thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially knowing like I'm going through my layoff. So it's like I don't feel guilty about spending money on myself in this scenario or whatnot. But there have been many times with Macy's specifically where they'll have a 1 day sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not aware of it before I get to the store. I'm just walking through the mall, right? And then I discover, oh wow, that's such a cute dress. How much is it? Oh my gosh, it's $15 and it's marked down like 80%. I'm
Nice.
buying this dress. Forget that.
Yeah.
And now I have this new dress, nowhere to go, but now I know I have to get some
Yeah.
shoes. And now I've set up this whole thing, and I know at some point in my life I'm gonna wear that
Yep.
outfit. And it's a space of encouraging. It's kind of like you're creating the space for what you want
Yes.
and where you want to go. It's kind of like a visualization
Yes.
technique, honestly. It's like a vision board of sorts, but in real time. So I really value that
Yeah.
outlook because I mean, I have a couple
Yeah, me
dresses that are
too.
waiting
They're
on this
waiting.
moment.
I dust them off, but they're there.
Yes. Yes, they're there and I can still fit them, thank God. So it's just like we're making progress for sure. And another thing that I wanted to mention was industry trends.
Mm-hmm.
I know that things are shifting, especially in the content world. So AI is this option that exists now, and some employers view it as the equivalent of a self checkout versus doing it themselves. So I know that for myself, I don't see AI as taking my job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that AI still needs me a lot more than people are putting it off to be. In my opinion, the impact of it is great, and understanding how different people use them that don't work in tech has been mind blowing because we know how we interact with it.
Yeah.
We understand the intent of certain things, but when you step outside of that world and you understand that there are people taking pictures of fruit to learn the name of
Oh,
it, to learn another language of it, like there are so many different things and elements that these AI tools are helping people with. I don't see it as a direct threat to my own career path, but I do see it as an opportunity to learn different tools. So I'm curious, how do you position yourself with AI, and have there been any other avenues that you think that are worth going down with AI in order to continue being the content person?
yeah. I think in the beginning, I was working at an ed tech company when the AI, I call it the space race, the AI space race was happening where everyone wanted to be the first to do the thing or like one of the first. Or in the beginning, we have to get AI, like we were using it as an industry almost as just a marketing tool to say, we have it, come to us. It's like, well, what do you have? What are you doing? And I think the wave has been going. And I never came in thinking, oh, AI is terrible. This is going to ruin the world. Nor did I come in thinking AI is so great. We all need to hop on this bandwagon. I think AI's like has been integrated in many products for many, many years. And there's just happens to be this popularity trending right now with certain aspects of it, where now companies who already were using AI and didn't tell anybody are now like, well, maybe we should market that and let them know how we're using this, this automated feature or whatever we're doing, which is fine. Like, more power to them. For me and my career, I have started to separate AI from my career and say, even if AI quote unquote took my job, it's not going to take me as a human, right? Like, I am more than my job title. My job title can change and has changed. And as we know, as content designers, that title changes all the time and it may change. That's okay. I'm still me and I still have my mission I'm going in with. Like, I want to help people. I want to make sure when we design things, we're looking at users, we're looking at all users. We're not just looking at one segment. We're looking at different segments. We're looking at integrating things for diverse groups. We're looking at children. We're looking at adult. I want to do that. I want to connect companies with that user experience and truly bring in like user research and true user research and equitable user research and all of these things. AI can't take that from me. It may say, well, we're going to do what you do faster. Okay, but I pivot and I learn and I grow, so whatever the case is, I encourage people, and someone encouraged me, like, don't stay away from it and say, this will pass, like some old lady that I was in the beginning, where it was like, this is just a trend, like everyone will get over it and I'll get back to writing my words. And it's like, no, like let's lean in here and see what's happening. And there were people in the content design world who I truly respect and who have been amazing in my career journey, who have done amazing things. They have been the grandmothers and grandfathers before us who are 100% against anything AI. And so it was really hard because you thought, well, am I supposed to do that? Am I supposed to be anti-AI right now? And I'm like, but I'm not. Is that okay? Like, let's lean into this and let's learn what this is doing and how this is helping people and how we can make this an even better experience. Because any company that's leaning heavily on AI is also looking for experts in this area to help drive this thing and help drive it in the right direction. There's still so many gaps and so many places where it needs us. And I was talking about this with someone the other day, that there is now in the job market, as we're looking, content designers, we're looking at all these different positions, there may be this balance of, okay, I get a position. Let's say I'm really, really great at this new AI project I'm taking on. Am I going to be working myself out of a job because I'm too good, and I trained the AI and I made it do all these cool things. And now it's like, thank you. We got what we needed from you. See ya. Or am I going to like be terrible at it? And they say, no, we need someone who's like a better, what is it? So there's this huge, weird balance between being too good, being not good enough. And it's like, just come in, do your best, do what you can. And if you have your mission at heart, you could do anything. It doesn't have to be content design or whatever you want to call it. You could call it whatever you want, as long as you're doing the thing that you love to do and you were meant to do. Nothing's going to take that from you.
Beautifully said. I wanted to add that, and which you said in so many ways, that the one thing that AI is unable to do is to provide that human connection. Mm-hmm. I do think that as we come to a close with our conversation, highlighting the impact of the individual and the content space is very important. It's always a race a bit. And it doesn't matter if you're in like a big tech company or if you work for a smaller company. It's always an argument of how are we going to communicate with the user? What is the language that will be used to communicate with the user? And what has stuck out as significant to me, writing is one of those things that everyone does, just like communicating, but it is not something that everyone is efficient at. So with understanding that, it's like we already have to bring our impact. For me, it's leading with your work. And when you transition apart from this company, you're still you, as you were saying. You still have these skills, you still have these talents, you still have these experiences. And as we build these AI tools, and some companies may see it as, okay, thank you for building this. Goodbye, here's a check. And that is an experience to be had because things still have to be maintained.
Right.
I think AI has attacked a few different disciplines. The first one it actually attacked was development because it's so easy to go to Wix and just say, this is what I want. And it's just going to do it for you. You don't have to find a coder anymore. So everyone has had to deal with, okay, there's an easier way to do this now. But there's still not that human connection that is required. So for us specifically, and you mentioned research, I can't help but notice the impact that content has every time there is a research testing session, because we're paying so much attention to the comprehension of the user, and everyone else is more focused on, did they finish it?
Hmm.
Did they like it? And we're like, did they understand
Right.
it? Why did they pause at this part? He took 3 seconds longer at this part. We're paying attention to
Hmm.
those details and not being afraid to ask those questions. So I think it's just really a consistent battle of learning and growing. I don't think it's really so much of proving your worth so much as it is of acknowledging your own growth.
Hmm.
But there's two sides to a coin, so it is what it is. But I just think trying to take it in a more positive way and then pairing that with, all right, now that I am seeking my next role, I know these are the spaces where I'm a rock
Hmm.
star. These are the things that I'm able to call out. And this is how I'm able to do these things. And it's not even to compete with another tool, it's just to say, hey, if this is what you're looking for and we align with that. Because to me, the whole idea of getting a job is just like dating. You have businesses who align with you, you have businesses who don't, you have businesses that are a lot more strict, and then it's like, can't color your hair, you can't wear long sleeves and things like that. So you just have to kind of discover what works for you and what are you okay with? Or are you a person who leads by the price? And it's like, I don't mind covering up if they're paying me for it, or I don't mind doing these things if they're paying me for it. You have to understand who you are within that.
Yeah.
So that's my long-winded way of closing out our
I love
chat.
that though. I love that because it's honestly connecting and saying, I have, and we all say this, like, make sure you connect with companies that have the same values as you, but have us really do that and really aren't afraid. My favorite question in an interview is to a manager is like, what are you really looking for? What's missing on your team that you're looking to fill? And they'll be really straightforward and say, you know what, I need someone who could, be forthcoming or speak up or be loud about these things. And I'm like, if that's not me, why force that peg and be like, I'll be that, when I'm truly an introvert that doesn't like to talk to people? Like, why would I say that? You get in there and you're going to be miserable. So we really have to understand our values, and once you truly understand them and you are like, I'm going to stick to them and stand up for them, then no one can tell you what your values are going to be. No one can buy you out. You're not going to be scared to say no, and you're going to do what you love doing. And it's not going to hurt whether you're making this much or this much, whether you're traveling or not, whether you're in person or not. You're doing what you love, and that's the bottom line.
Very true. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me
Yeah. Thanks
today.
for having me. I had a good time.
That was Sarah Mondestin. I hope you've gained insight from our chat about networking, social media, and navigating your individual needs. Job hunting can be daunting. I know, I'm right there with you. And that's why it's important to set limits and avoid burnout. To all the people searching for work, remember to stay grounded. And instead of counting the applications that you've submitted, perhaps you could try counting the things you've accomplished since this transition. If you like this conversation and you'd like to continue it with Sarah, I've placed her information in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe on the platform of your choice. This show is written and produced by me, Janisa Norris, while editing and post-production is done by Digital Sunflower. Until next time, turn your problems into opportunities.